Hello and welcome to Elkniodaphs Plays. Today I am flying around Hawaii. Got a few fun things planned for the stream. Um, One thing I teased on Discord, so we'll be getting to that eventually. About halfway point, we got a fun thing coming. So this is gonna be about a 2-hour flight. I don't know. You know what? I've never learned the names of all the different Hawaiian islands, but I do know that we're starting on Oahu, and that's going to be the reference of the stream title is a reference to Test Drive Unlimited, which is a racing game that took place on Oahu in its entirety, which is pretty amazing at the time. Still pretty amazing when you think about it that they were able to pull that off. And now we have a flight simulator that not only recreates Oahu in its entirety, but the whole world in its entirety. Yet, I still choose Oahu to start the second episode of my 12, I've decided 12 episode series, which will culminate, again, in the filming location of Dune 2021, desert area known as Wadi Rum, and I'm probably mispronouncing that. But without further hesitation, let's start the flight. We are flying from Oahu to the southeasternmost island, and our flight path takes us right between a series of other islands in the middle. It's a beautiful flight path. It really puts us in a bunch of nice scenic locations. So here we go. I made a last minute change too, but the plane, I was going to use a different plane, scrapped that one. Last minute change. I like this plane better. So here we go. Let's do it. I can already tell it's kind of a windy day out there in Hawaii. Whoa, listing again. Raise my landing gear. So yeah, the first episode from last week was a kind of recreation of Penn and Teller's Desert Bus from Tucson, Arizona to Las Vegas, Nevada. But instead of an 8-hour trip by bus, it was a 2-hour trip by plane.
Honolulu approach JMB Aviation 213 is type JMB Aviation, VL3 1 miles east of Papa Hotel Delta Hotel 400 feet. Request, flight following. JMB Aviation 213, Honolulu approach. Squawk flight 57.
So you can't really get much more different than desert than archipelago. And right off the bat, we are seeing a beautiful landscape of trees and farmland. I suppose these might be sugar fields. I know a lot of sugar comes out of Hawaii. But yeah, nice beaches. Got the waves breaking. Little neighborhood down here. So yeah, just gonna kind of take our time and check out all these Hawaiian islands. I had done a kind of a proof of concept over Los Angeles in families that I have out in Los Angeles. I did a flyby over their neighborhood, and I was picking things out like, what are these warehouses, or what's this, what's that? And interestingly enough, a couple weeks later, they come down and visit. We watched your video. The things you were pointing out, that was Universal Studios. Oh, okay. They were like, that round circle you pointed out, that was a graveyard. So it's very interesting to get their perspective, and I'm glad they watched it. really interesting. I mean, this is quite the opposite of solipsistic. I, uh, I, I'm really trying to put myself in these different places just to check them out. Got a baseball diamond down there. You see a lot of baseball diamonds. I was kind of blown away by how many baseball diamonds you see. I kind of want to get lower. I want to check out some of these neighborhoods. Kind of the whole idea here. I'm not going to try to pronounce any of these. But yeah, this is a much better plane. I can't remember the name of the plane that I originally selected um, for this flight plan, but man, I'm glad I changed it. We got Kenmore Air. I wonder if that's the same Kenmore that makes your refrigerator. They also do planes, perhaps. I know Mitsubishi used to make televisions. And the reason I know that is because I used to have one of them. So we are approximately 200 nautical miles away from our arrival. We have some we have some farmland over here, kind of built right against this ridge. That's interesting geography, isn't it? It's darker than the other crops. I don't know what that is. Got some trees growing in your field there, guy. Might want to get on that. So I don't want to deviate too much, but like I did in the Las Vegas episode, if something is slightly off of my flight path, I'll go check it out. I'm not going to go ridiculously out of my way, but I'll go check things out. Farmland. It's amazing how much farmland there is in the United States, um, and quite possibly worldwide. Uh, as a species, we really eat quite a lot of food, and man, it's got to grow somewhere. Um, just passing over miles and miles and miles of farm after farm after farm from Arizona to Nevada. Really quite something, and it really makes you appreciate the dedication of these farmers. Live out in the middle of nowhere. And I flew over several neighborhoods. I never saw anything that looked like any kind of entertainment. Um, Not until you start getting into the bigger cities. There's like no arenas or shopping centers or anything. It's just like rural houses, and that's all it is for like 200 miles. I mean, like you wonder, like, would these people hurt themselves out in the field? How could they get to a hospital? Farming has to be a dangerous job. I can't imagine. But I think in a place like Hawaii, and specifically the farms I'm flying over now, they seem to be a bit closer to civilization. So I feel like, there's probably a hospital out here. You hurt yourself in a Hawaiian farm, you're probably a bit better off than a farm in Arizona. Whitmore Village. That sounds like one I can pronounce. Nice clear day. I was asking my Google device what the weather was like in Hawaii today. I think they said it was like 85 degrees and sunny. It definitely is sunny. Not a lot of cloud cover out today. So nice clear day for a 2-hour flight over the islands. There's going to be, I anticipate, a few moments, probably two, I would imagine, um, where we are so far removed from land. We're going to see water in every direction. I haven't had a flight like that. I did a little flying off the coast, the east coast of Florida, past Miami, and I flew out quite a ways. There's a little runway out there on a small island, um, but I could still always see Florida. So this is going to put us probably in a situation where we are completely removed from any kind of you know safety net of land. And you'll notice I did not choose an aircraft that has pontoons. I almost did. I thought I'm gonna do all this flying over water and everything. I'm gonna want a pontoon, a seaplane. But I decided against it because I don't want to get cute with this. I'm I'm stepping into the shoes of a pilot virtually. This isn't about being cute. This isn't about, oh, let's make a water landing because I can. I'm clearly going from one airport to another. So I don't. I'm not going for the cute stuff. Um, but yeah, we're getting into some heavy foliage, some heavy canopy here. Let me get a little lower. Appreciate the nature out here. Looks like we got. Oh, that's Honolulu International Airport. Got some clearings here. See a lot of golf courses. I imagine we're going to see a lot of golf courses out here. If this wasn't so far removed from like a city, I would imagine that this kind of from up this high, this kind of looks like a golf course, but I don't suspect that it is. We'll definitely see some golf courses though, that's for sure. Little house tucked away in the woods. Be a pretty cool place to live, huh? Set up a little arcade for yourself in that little house in the middle of these Hawaiian woods. Let's see if we can spot anything interesting in these woods. So yeah, this is the second of 12 planned episodes. I have everything, like all the biomes are covered. I've made a conscious decision not to talk too much about them ahead of time because I want I want them largely to be a surprise. Also because I might change them at the last minute. But I decided I'll go ahead and tell what the next one is going to be each time. So the next one is going to be Iceland. Uh, where their most famous export being Bjork, one of my favorite musicians. My girlfriend has a couple of albums on vinyl. For some reason in my head, I always attribute Bjork and Beck together because I had Beck's album Mutations when I was also very heavily into Bjork. So I kind of associate them together. Mutations is an excellent album. I really like the song Lazy Flies. Cold Brains, excellent song. And not Bjork, Beck recently did a song with Paul McCartney. It's a pretty good song. It, it's not like this the powerhouse I want it to be though. It's more of a subtle, uh, more subtle musicianship involved. But it kind of does kind of evoke a Beatles and Beck sound together. I can't remember the name of the song, but it's pretty good, and the video is really cool too. It kind of has some some Chris Cunningham work going on, kind of a uncanny valley, Aphex Twin kind of vibe. Like it's creepy if you look at it just the wrong way. But yeah, pretty good stuff. We have these tracks up here. Looks like kind of a, well, it's got to be a road, right? It's kind of an elevated highway. It really drops down from that mountain, doesn't it? Like that seems like it would be a dangerous ride. That's quite a descent. I definitely, Test Drive Unlimited, man. I got to tell you, I definitely rode on that road. Driven on that road before, for sure. This was my old stamping grounds, definitely. I feel like I probably had a house. We're approaching the southeastern side of it, and that's where uh, the beginning of Test Drive Unlimited starts. So um, you're gonna kind of see like this is like everything in front of us now is the like the first 3 hours of Test Drive Unlimited. I specifically remember there being an airport out there too. I remember they had a great deal of fence around it because I thought it'd be cool to take my car out there and drive on the runway. And I think I remember being able to get out on the runway. I don't know if you were supposed to be able to, but it might be that one. It might be the Marion E. Carl airfield. Um, yeah, I definitely remember it was on kind of a sticky out peninsula like that. That's probably the one. So like you start your racing career like right down there in the middle of that town or thereabouts. Maybe that one down there. Now this feels right. And then the first house you get is way over there by those mountains. I remember that. It's like the first house you get. But yeah, Test Drive Unlimited was a great game. I was really blown away by the scale of it. And now here we are doing it again, but in a plane. I don't want to break away from the flight path too much, but I want to kind of get lower and check out this neighborhood. Driving all around this place, man. These highways were a mess. I remember that. Some kind of, what was that? Some kind of auditorium or something. Yeah, I definitely made the right call changing planes. I did not like the last plane. You couldn't change the livery on it. It had like this real evil Knievel look to it. I felt like I was driving a stunt plane. It was a little ridiculous. So, piloting something a bit more reserved and uh, with a bit more integrity, it feels better. I wonder where. Like, I know they film a lot of stuff out here, like famously Lost and parts of Jurassic Park. I feel like we probably saw some dinosaurs running through that field down there. Seems right to me. Steven Spielberg out here framing his shots. All right. I don't want to veer too far from this flight path. We'll get back on track here. So, I didn't know what the approach would look like as we uh, went in between the islands here. I was wondering, would we even be able to see the next island in the distance? And indeed we can. It's right out there. So we have a bit of a stretch over the water, and we'll get out there in short order. I don't I don't want to pull off any moves that are too dangerous, but I want to. This is going to be the last land we see for a while, so I want to breathe it in. Now that's a golf course. I told you we were going to see a golf course. Yeah, buddy. That might be. Hey, you know what? Maybe we'll see. I don't know where Wildlife Country Club is, but Wildlife Country Club's got to be out around here. That's my favorite golf game. Um, on the 3DO. I was one of the lucky kids to have a 3DO, and I actually managed to buy it myself back in the day. Um, it was a $700 console when it launched, and the only reason I could afford it as a kid is because my grandpa knew a guy who was like uh, he was like a retail magnate. I think he owned a few stores, but one of the stores he owned, and I'm talking like CEO. One of the stores he owned was Letcher's. That's a old store that you used to see in malls. They sold like different kitchen utensils, or like hot dog steamers or whatever. Who cares? Um, but I was visiting them in Connecticut one time. My grandpa and his friend was over, and he said, "Hey kid, I got a deal for you. I got these three toothpicks." He held out three toothpicks. He said, "If you can turn these three toothpicks into four without breaking any, I'll give you $500." And I was like, "Okay." So I just made the shape of the number four. I didn't even think anything of it. He's like, his face turned white. He's like, "Oh." But what's $500 to him? That's everything to a kid. This CEO guy, what's $500 to him? He didn't want to pay me, but my grandpa made him pay me. So that was $500. And then we were driving back home to Florida, and we're like, "Hey, you know what? Let's stop in and get some lottery tickets." And my mom had a rule where if anything that I won scratching off a ticket, I'd get to keep. And I scratched a ticket and got $200. So the 500 from that guy, and then the $200 was enough to get the 3DO. And man, I loved that thing. I loved Hell, a cyberpunk thriller. It was a great game. Myst, first time I played Myst. I have a long history with Myst. I used to work in radio, interviewed Rand Miller. It was like the highlight of, my time at the radio station. Uh, Wildlife Country Club Golf, I think, is the best version of that game on the 3DO. I've played it on the Nintendo 64. I've played it on the Super Nintendo. Nothing holds a candle to it. Like, you gotta play it on the 3DO. It's the best version. And 32-bit Road Rash, of course, with the amazing soundtrack. I mean, Return Fire. I remember what was the Pauly Shore movie? In the Army Now. They were playing Return Fire in the store he worked at. He worked at like a Circuit City or something. And they were playing Return Fire on the 3DO. If I recall correctly, I'm like 90% sure. And like I remember like all the times they play video games and movies. Like they were playing Doom in Congo. I couldn't tell you anything else about Congo, but I remember they were playing Doom in it. So, uh, but yeah, the 3DO, and people make fun of me for it. Like I'd be on like a Discord or something, and it'll come up and be like, "Well, the 3DO version was superior," you know, and people will be like making fun of me, like, dude, I was like a 12-year-old kid that had $700. You should be patting me on the back instead of making fun of me. That's an impressive amount of money for a kid. Uh, but yeah, that's my 3DO / Rand Miller story. Rolled into one there. We're gaining some altitude. I'm going to go ahead and pop it into autopilot because there's nothing really to look at over the water. So I'm gonna pop it into autopilot here, and I came up with a way to kill a little bit of time. Hopefully the autopilot keeps me alive. I don't know if I trust it. It's doing some crazy stuff right now. Where you going, dude? Why is the autopilot banking around like this? Hold on a second. I mean, that's clearly not the way we want to go. I don't trust the autopilot. You want to take me back to Oahu for some reason. Don't know why. Alright, well, I guess I won't be doing that thing I had planned. Maybe later. I can probably figure it out later. Just do a circle over the water for no reason. How about that? Alright, so we want to keep heading east, southeast. Let me check something real quick. I'll pause it. Oh, okay, hold on a second. Alright. I'm looking at the menu here. I'm still trying to figure some of this stuff out. Yeah, see, my destination is still Hilo International. That's definitely where we're going. Why the autopilot wanted to turn me around and take me back to the north, I have no idea. I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I don't know what it is. We'll stick it out. There's this interesting thing that happens when you're flying over water. There's really no points of reference, so it's kind of hard to tell how high you are. And this, this applies to real life also. Um,
213, contact Honolulu Center on 127.6. Good day. 127.6 JMB Aviation 213.
radio chatter.
Honolulu Center JMB Aviation 213, 4,500 feet.
JMB Aviation 213 Honolulu Center altimeter 30.10, continuous planned.
I wonder if that... I have the radio chatter AI turned on, so I wonder if that radio chatter solidified our arrival with ATC. Let me try activating AI piloting again and see what happens. Okay, banking to the right a little bit. Yeah, it's taking us back to...
Contact Honolulu Center on 119.9. Good day.
Yeah, I gotta stop messing with the with the AI piloting. I don't know why it's doing that. I mean, every waypoint I have is facing to the southeast.
Cruise of Bravo airspace. 119.9 for Airbus 692.
Cleared through Bravo.
I heard a lot of people think that AI is broken in this game, but then there's always someone to come in the forum and be like, well, it's actually not broken. You probably just don't know how to use it. I'm sure. I just don't know how to use it, and that's fine. I should be more hands-on anyway. Using the autopilot to get from point A to point B in a 2-hour flight. It's not what I'm about. I'm trying to do it myself. So we are about... how many nautical miles to start? I don't remember. It was definitely over 200. We're at 168. So, an eighth of the way there? Is that right? No. It's closer than that. Um, well, I mean, I know it's a 2-hour flight, and we're 30 minutes down, so I don't remember how many nautical miles to start. Plus, relying on the AI to take over seemed to be a bad mistake. I can probably do some of the thing I was thinking of. We seem to be pretty solid right now. No turbulence or anything like that. So, let's see. I got my phone here. I ordered during the pandemic. I ordered some sugar because I was trying to make my own coffee instead of going out and getting fresh coffee every day. So I ordered like bulk sugar, and the stuff I ended up getting was called C&H sugar. That's the letter C and the letter H, sugar. And it stands for California and Hawaiian Sugar Company, C&H Sugar. And when we were flying over Oahu, I saw some fields, and I feel like those were probably sugar fields. But I was looking at the Wikipedia entry here, and they've been around since 1906. It says California and Hawaiian Sugar Company is an American sugar processing and distribution company originally organized. Well, here it says it's originally organized as a co-op in 1921, but it says it was founded in 1906. I guess it wasn't. I guess it wasn't always a co-op. That's probably when it became California and Hawaiian Sugar Company. It says in 2017, its Crockett, California refinery processed its last shipment of Hawaiian sugar, but continues to produce pure cane sugar sourced from other locations. So they don't even get sugar from Hawaii anymore. What's the deal with that? How are you going to still call yourself C&H Sugar then? I guess the H stands for, not Hawaii. Unless I'm parsing this wrong. It's pretty good sugar though. I like it better than that garbage that we get on the mainland. Who knows where it comes from though? Other sources. That's as clear as this Wikipedia page gets. In 1993, the member companies sold their interests in C&H to Alexander and Baldwin in Honolulu, and the refining company's status changed from a co-op to a corporation. Alexander and Baldwin subsequently sold its majority share to an investment group, Citicorp Venture Capital (CVC), in 1998, retaining a 40% common stock interest in the recapitalized company. American Sugar Refining bought C&H in 2006, merging it with its other sugar operations. C&H revenues and profits continued to decline in the 21st century as sugar prices fell and labor costs rose. So I'm getting from this that they're completely restructuring. They're not doing so well. They're getting sugar from like any source they can. It doesn't sound like they're doing so great, which is a travesty because it's really good sugar. Like never cakes or anything like that. Yeah, I don't think it has like an anti-caking agent in it. It just doesn't cake. It's just really good sugar. C&H sugar. Exclusive use of cane sugar. Believed by some to be superior to sugar from the sugar beet. Have I been eating beet sugar this whole time like an idiot? C&H's primary market is west of the Mississippi River in the United States. So as a Floridian, I'm supposed to remain ignorant to
Maintain flight
CNH
level
sugar.
240 landmark
A number of
1254.
restaurants, bakeries, and hotels have CNH sugar shipped directly to them where it is not available through local distribution channels. Yes, yeah, I had to order mine on the internet. More than 70 types, grades, and package sizes are sold within the two major groupings of grocery and industrial products. About 700,000 short tons of sugar per year are processed. It doesn't even seem like Hawaii has anything to do with it anymore. Kind of a joke. They got to change their name. If they're not sourcing any sugar from Hawaii, they got to change their name. We're getting back into some land. We're approaching Panda. Interesting is that there's a region called Panda in Hawaii. We got some cloud cover that looks like we're going to be flying through. About 20 minutes away, looks like. You know, I've been playing this flight simulator now for a couple weeks, and I have yet to fly through really any weather that wasn't clear. It's been pretty much clear the whole time, and I've put probably about 15, 20 hours into this thing, which isn't a whole lot. But the fact that you can fly for 20 hours and not really see any weather that isn't clear is kind of surprising. Yeah, this incorrect heading indicator. This happened. This happened with the other plane too. I think there's some planes that don't have that issue. I think I there's an instrument heading indicator. See, theoretically, she would get. I've never flown this plane before. Theoretically, the pilot would get on the radio and change the heading. Strobe lights say we should have a party, man. Fortunately for me, most of this stuff is automated. But yeah, I don't know how to change the heading. I mean, these are your no, that's your cone. I don't know. Hey man, you know what? I have a waypoint and I know how to follow it. That's kind of the important part. I am trying to learn. I hope that by the time I get to my 12th episode of this, that I know how to turn that notification off, or find a plane that doesn't have it. I know not all planes have it. I think the modern ones do. But if I'm like flying a biplane or something, it's not going to have a heading indicator. All right, let's cruise this beach a little bit. Molokai. Why does that sound familiar? Molokai. Is there a guy named Molokai in The Watchmen?
Landmark 1254, contact Honolulu Center on 127.6.
Definitely rings a bell. Let's get down and check out this beach. I mean, there's not going to be anyone on it because it's the middle of nowhere. But it's beautiful to look at nonetheless. We do have something out here. This little outcropping. Hawaii is interesting because you see like huge swaths of land uh, that could be settled but aren't. I feel like maybe a lot of this could be like nature reserves, and maybe they have like local ordinances against building any kind of structures or anything. But it does look like we have something down here. Hard to tell what that is. Just some kind of landing area for ships, I suppose. Maybe there is production here and I'm just not seeing it. I mean, I see like a road, and there was Panda over there. Oh yeah, I do think I see some farmland. Yeah, there must be some kind of production out here. I couldn't tell what it is though. All right, I'm gonna leave Molokai behind and turn back towards my destination, Hilo International. Hey Google, what's the temperature in Hawaii? 83. And I think it's uh, what, like 1 p.m. there right now. It'd be nice if I had that information on my screen. I don't see it. To set the heading indicator, press set heading indicator. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know where that is though. I don't know where to press it. I don't see it anywhere. Set heading indicator. Set heading indicator. And the AI pilot is completely whack. That could be my problem though. I mean, if the wrong heading is set, it wouldn't be ATC. If the wrong heading is set, then he's going to want to turn around. See, I still have the destination. It's Hilo International. That's where my waypoint is heading. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'll have to look into how to turn that off. I'm really going to try to figure that out before next week. That's going to be Iceland. Iceland is going to be interesting. I think I might fly without a particular destination in Iceland, so I won't have like the heading indicator popping up all the time anyway, because I might fly without a particular destination. And just kind of, because I think Iceland is going to be largely bare, so I'm just going to want to zip around all over the place. Although I'm sure I'm wrong. I'm sure it's very well built up and probably has quite a few metropolises. That'll be an interesting flight. I think the weather in Iceland right now is in the 50s. So we're not going to see any snow yet, but I definitely have a couple of destinations in mind where we're going to be flying over quite a bit of snow. Cloud straight ahead. I'm going to head straight for it. I mean, that cloud, like, that's like 5 minutes away, but I'm heading straight for it. I want to hit that cloud. I haven't, like I said, I put 15, 20 hours into this game, and I've barely seen any weather at all. Like, everything's just clear all the time. But yeah, let's pop into this cloud. she's waiting for me. The cockpit view is rather
Landmark 6659er.
obtuse.
Please expedite your climb 14,000 feet.
Did she say she wants me to get to 14,000 feet? I'm not going that high. Get real. The whole point of this is I want to check out what's on the ground. Yeah, cruising altitude is not in my vocabulary, man. I just I want to buzz neighborhoods and get real nosy about houses. Cloud's getting bigger, man. I'm getting closer. I'll fly right through it.
Landmark 6659er. Please expedite your climb 14,000 feet.
14,000 feet. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. It kind of goes against the whole idea of this stream. Like I want to fly
Landmark
by.
6659er. Contact Honolulu Center on 127.6. Good day.
I want to fly by these neighborhoods and such. This cloud seems to, it seems to be
127.6 for
okay.
landmark.
Yeah, we're getting in it. I was gonna say it almost seemed like it was starting to dissipate, but that proved to not be the case. Yep, that was a cloud, all right. All right, getting back to land. I don't know which one of these islands is going to have any more cities. I think Oahu is like, as far as I know, from my own personal experience, it seems Oahu is the place to be. The rest of this, you know, probably sugarcane fields and such, which apparently don't sell to CNH anymore.
JMB Aviation 213 Honolulu Center, altimeter 30.09er. Continue as planned.
Maybe, maybe on the next stream I'll turn voices off. I think it's cool to hear the radio chatter every now and then, but it seems like they're just buzzing in my ear about increasing my altitude, and I don't care about that. I want to decrease my altitude, man. I want to check out what's out here. On the last stream from Tucson to Las Vegas, I saw a lot of dry rivers, and you know, it didn't surprise me after. I mean, I'm sure those rivers have been dry for centuries, but just seeing like one source cutting its way through all these farmlands, like one water source, and then all these like arteries coming off of it to feed the different farmlands independently. It really seems like we're just sucking the life right out of the earth. I I mean, I'm not like an environmentalist or anything, but just seeing it, like just seeing like one river in the desert, and then all these arteries just coming out of it. It's really quite something. And it honestly just goes on for like 200, 300 miles, just farmland, farmland. Um, but it's also an impressive feat of agriculture. I mean, just that humans could build something that vast. And then we see Hawaii, where it's kind of the polar opposite. It's it's wet instead of dry. It's seems largely uninhabited. I'm actually kind of surprised. I mean, the desert in between Tucson and Las Vegas was also largely uninhabited. But then you get these huge swaths of farmland. Um, but in Hawaii, I mean, you see like pockets of what I'm guessing is sugar cane, and then just nothing. Like there's no like there. It doesn't seem like there's any production here. It didn't seem like we've seen any production for like the last 20 minutes. This is just uh, this is just a blank canvas to put your dinosaurs on. If you're Steven Spielberg, like that's all. That's all this is out here, man. It's like we got like a river. That's a river, right? Or is that a? Yeah, that's a river. We got a river. We got some trees, and we got a nice backdrop for your Spielberg dinosaurs, or your Lost episodes. I do see more farmland coming up. I'm sure that's more sugarcane field. I always like to look down at like these like vast forested areas, see if I notice like a house just like in the middle of the woods. But yeah, we see some roads here. These are gonna pop in between different crop fields, I imagine. Um, I'm sure if I was closer to the coast, we would see, you know, docks for cargo ships for transporting these goods. One thing I noticed in uh, Nevada, Arizona, Nevada, that I'm not noticing here is dead farms. Um, you see a lot of dead farms, like clearly like farmland in Arizona that was once, you know, grand and lush and very lively. That very clearly is dead now. But I'm not seeing that here. These all seem like active, working farmlands. And I think the difference is that real estate is more at a premium out here. Plus, the wetter nature of the environment out here it probably makes it easier to grow various crops. But like I said, you have these arteries coming off of main water source, facilitating agriculture in the desert. So we figured out how to do it in places where you shouldn't be able to do it. This is a cool little neighborhood. I like this little town here. Looks like that's probably a grocery store, and looks like you have like like your maybe sugar storage here. Bunch of houses, probably a school or two. Is that this? I thought this was a river before, but I'm kind of feeling like this is a road. I just don't know why it seems to be lacking in definition. It seems to be lacking in definition. I would imagine. Yeah, that's not a river. The river idea doesn't make sense with this geography. It's got to be some kind of road, but I don't understand why it looks so bad. Could be a problem with the satellite imagery that they're using as a source. I'm seeing what I thought was cloud shadow. I don't see any clouds. That's weird. Again, that could be an issue with the satellite images. This game streams satellite data in real time. I'm pretty sure my ISP hates me. And we are cresting over this ridge, approaching the water again. And looks like some more cloud cover. Oh, like a pocket of ice? What is that? That's strange. Looks like a pocket of ice. It's weird. None of the other ridges have that. Hmm. You see a lot of weird stuff like that. I have to imagine that something like that is probably just like an oversight in the satellite imagery, or I saw some stuff on the last flight from Tucson to Las Vegas that seemed like I'd be flying into a different color palette, and my thought was, oh, these satellite images were taken at different times, or perhaps different seasons, because you'd be flying from one color palette, and then there'd be like a stark line, and you'd fly over that into a different color palette. So yeah, I have to assume. I mean, this game, it's an amazing feat, but there's things like that where it's a little rough around the edges, uh, but still amazingly impressive nonetheless. The fact that you can fly anywhere in the world is incredible. I had mentioned before that my idea is to kind of do these relatively mundane courses. I'm not I'm not flying, through the pyramids or doing loops in the sky or anything like that. Everyone else is kind of handling that, and probably handling it better than I could. The thing I can do is keep my head down and just make a flight from point A to point B. I'm not looking at incredible destinations. I'm not, the fact that I'm even flying in Hawaii in the first place is really outside of my MO. But it was just one of these places that I wrote down randomly and like in my head. It's kind of a stream of consciousness thing where I was like, okay, I'm doing 12 episodes. There's 12 weeks until Dune comes out, and I'm flying in the filming location of Dune 2021 for my last episode. So I need some stuff in between. I started with Desert Bus. I'm finishing with Dune, but I need 10 episodes because there's 12 weeks, so I need 10 episodes in between. And like in the span of like 30 seconds, I was just writing one right after the other, and they just flowed out of me. I was like, but what order do I do these in? So I'm kind of doing them randomly, and Hawaii just happened to be the second one that I chose. And it's fitting because it is quite the opposite of the last effort. And we are about a third of the way between the last island and the next one. But yeah, it's really quite beautiful out here. I see why people like it. Aaron Hansen from Game Grumps was telling a story recently about having gone to Hawaii and him being from Florida as well. I'm from Florida, but him being from Florida, he's like, he gets off the plane and he's looking around. He's like, this is just Florida. This is just like a different Florida. But then he mentioned kind of going into like this like resort with the very regional drinks and just kind of breathing in and taking in the whole of Hawaii, and he's like, oh, I get it. He didn't get it at first. He got off the plane, he was kind of like disillusioned, but spending time there and getting to know it in a way deeper than like surface level, he begins to appreciate it. And in kind of a similar way, I'm doing the same thing with these different locations. I never really appreciate... Oh, hold on a second. I never really appreciated the Nevada thing before with the farms. And that was really quite eye-opening. I never knew... I mean, I knew agriculture was big deal, big business, but just seeing it and flying over it and realizing that everything that I flew over is just a fraction of what exists in the world is mind-blowing. And you don't get a sense of that in Hawaii, because Hawaii, I think, is largely concerned with one export of sugar. I mean, I'm sure they do a lot, but like that's their main thing. So you don't really see it on the same level that I mean, like I said earlier, you see like a small farmland, and then it's 10 minutes before you see the next one. In Arizona, Nevada, you're flying over like 200 continuous miles of farmland. It really blows you away. This is that cloud cover that I had seen a ways back. I want to get under it so I can see where the next island is. Oh yeah, it's coming into view. I like the color palette you get out here. Like, it's a deep blue, accented by these clouds. I feel like I'm in a horseshoe of clouds right now, like a ring of clouds. I'm like in the clearing of clouds. It's like the clouds opened up just for this island. see what we can see.
Honolulu Center landmark 7332 is at 12,500 feet, descending 3,000 feet. Landmark 7332, Honolulu Center, altimeter tree 0.11, continue to Keiki as planned.
I'm kind of scanning the coast for any kind of like landing areas for ships. I think I see something down there. It's probably nothing. But our destination, I think this is the last island we pass over before we get to our destination island, which is like huge. It's the southeastmost island, and we're landing on the kind of the eastern side of it, so kind of as far as you can go. And it's a cool little area that we're landing in because there's kind of like a almost a crescent shape. Uh, Crescent shape water area or city built around this circular area, and it has a runway right next to it. It's an interesting little town. Look at the color variance of this island. It's amazing. You see like the mossy green and the like tomato soup red. You put some dinosaurs down there, man, it would look great.
127.6 JMB Aviation 213.
The variance is wild.
Honolulu Center JMB Aviation 213, 3,500 feet.
It looks like we have some cliffs out here too. Pork chop sandwiches. All right, that's the alarm for my my segment that I call the Sandwich Report. Last week I talked about a sandwich I had, and I thought if I have another sandwich, I could talk about that. So I wanted to have a sandwich that was very specific to Hawaii, and the sandwich I had is called. Well, it doesn't really have a name. It's just a Hawaiian ham sandwich. But what makes it unique is you create a glaze. It's a ham and Swiss sandwich, and you create a glaze. It's minced onion, mustard, Worcestershire sauce, and butter, and you kind of melt that all together. You make your ham and Swiss sandwich on King's Hawaiian rolls, obviously, and then you kind of glaze the top of these rolls after you make the sandwich. Put the whole thing in the oven for like 20 minutes, and you get like a hot, crispy sandwich at the end of it. And I gotta say, man, it was a really good sandwich. The problem was that I didn't know that Worcestershire sauce has anchovies in it, and I'm kind of allergic to fish. So I'm eating the sandwich, I'm really enjoying it, and then about an hour later I'm like, oh, why don't I feel so good? And I started to, like, when you don't feel well, you're like, what did I do different? Did I eat anything weird? What did I do differently? Like, I never eat Worcestershire sauce. That must be it. So I was like, okay, what's in Worcestershire sauce? It's the anchovies. Oh, well, there's your answer. I mean, I'm somewhat allergic. It makes me not feel well generally. In very general terms, I'm allergic to fish, but I'm especially allergic to shellfish. I don't think I'm going to die if I have shellfish, but I just, I think I had an allergic reaction one time to the smell of lobster. I don't even know if that's really possible. It could just been like a psychosomatic thing. But yeah, can't do seafood. Um, don't want to do seafood. Accidentally ate anchovy today. Not very happy about that. At least it was like an ingredient in something. Like taken as a whole, Worcestershire sauce, it tastes good. It's fine. You break down these individual components and you have anchovies. I'm not interested. But um but yeah, it was a really good sandwich. I would recommend them. I actually saw on the internet that you can use soy sauce as a substitute for Worcestershire sauce. So you want to take, uh, I split the recipe in half, but basically you want to take like uh, 3 tablespoons of butter, like a teaspoon of soy sauce, I suppose, a teaspoon of mustard, and the dried minced onions, and you create like this sauce that you glaze over the top of the buns, the King's Hawaiian rolls, with Swiss cheese and deli ham, and like I said, cook it for about 20 minutes, and man, it's really good. Um, I would say I think I want to rate these sandwiches. So the sandwiches I had last week was a ham and pimento tea sandwich. I'm going to try moving forward to make the sandwich relevant to the place that I'm flying in. I hadn't come up with that idea last week. So, you know, the pimento spread tea sandwich may not be relevant to Las Vegas, but it was the kind of sandwich that I imagine, like, you know, like the cigarette girls walking around the casino handing out these tea sandwiches. You know what I'm saying? Like in the 1950s. Like I can totally picture that in my head, and it seemed to fit the style. So a bit of retconning involved, but I'll take it. Um, I'm going to give that one a 6.5. The only reason is I didn't make that one myself. I bought it pre-made. There was too much uh, of the uh, pimento spread on the bread. Like it was overwhelming. Not because of the flavors, but there was just too much of it. It was like that thing of like putting too much mayonnaise on a sandwich. Like the flavor's mild, but if there's too much of it, then it becomes, you know, unappetizing. And this was the same kind of thing. I found myself, you know, taking some of it off. Also, the ham was kind of hard on the edges, so I have a feeling I bought a day-old sandwich and they didn't tell me. So I'm going to give that one a 6.5. This one that I made today myself, you know, with the glaze and the Worcestershire sauce and everything, I wanted to give it a 7.5, but I'm going to dock it a little bit because, and this is not a knock against the sandwich, this is kind of my fault, but it is something that I don't like about it, so I have to dock it half a point. I'm going to give it a 7.0. It was pretty good. The flavors were there. The uh, the roll, the glaze made the roll crispy. That was incredible. I could eat the roll just by itself with that glaze. But next, if I make it again, I'm going to use soy sauce. Um, but yeah, so far that's the reigning champ of the sandwich report is the one I made today. Uh, both ham sandwiches. You know, ham sandwich last week, ham sandwich this week. Um, Next week is Iceland. I don't know what kind of sandwich Iceland has. I did look it up, just kind of passively, like, Iceland sandwich. Did you mean ice cream sandwich? You know, that kind of thing. No, no Google. I didn't. Um, it's a lot of fish stuff, really gross looking fish stuff too. But they did have. Uh, uh, I don't know if this is the one I'm going to go with or not, but they did have like an open faced roast beef thing. I'll probably go for that. I'm not the biggest fan of roast beef either. I used to get a open-faced turkey sandwich from a restaurant in my neighborhood. It was number 17 on the menu, and I used to work at a Dollar General. I'd take my breaks, go to this restaurant. It became so routine that I didn't even have to like specify my order anymore. They'd be like, "Oh, Elkniodaphs is here. We need a number 17." um, and it was an open-faced turkey sandwich. It wasn't even like anything like elevated. It was literally like Wonder Bread with like deli, like Hillshire Farm turkey and canned gravy and fries. It was literally something I could make myself. But I decided, I'm going to spend $8 every day getting this on my lunch break. And at the time, that was I was making about $8 an hour, minimum wage. I mean, it's a Dollar General. What do you want? It's not like I can always hit the guy that owns Letcher's up for another $500. But I get this sandwich every day, and it's just really good. In a situation like that, you're not really paying for the food. You're paying for the convenience of the food. You don't have to cook it. You don't have to clean up after it. It's you pay your $8, you get your crummy sandwich, and you go back to work. You know what I bet you the AI was doing? I bet you the AI somehow, and I don't know why this is, but I think it was angling toward the nearest runway. I don't know why it would do that. I bet you if I turned it on now, it would continue flying towards Hilo. Let's check it out. Yeah, perfect. That's what it's doing then. See, and now look, incorrect heading indicator. That tells me it's not my fault, because the AI is supposed to be taking care of everything. So I think what the AI does, and I'm sure that there's different ways to program it, but I think what the AI does is it kind of just circles around the nearest runway. I think it puts you into a holding pattern. I don't know why it does that. It should just continue your flight. I think it does if you have it on the whole time. I think if I leave the runway with the AI pilot and don't turn it off until I land, I think it'll take me all the way to my destination. But because I was already in flight when I turned it on, it was like, emergency, let's land, let's get to where we can land. So I don't want that. I want you to keep going. I'm sure there's ways to program it to do that. But, as you can see, I turned it on and it's doing the right thing now. I should have done this the first time. But yeah, pretty good sandwiches. Iceland, I don't know. I'll have to really look into that one. I'm afraid to go shopping now too because of the pandemic. Like the Delta variant is kicking off pretty hard, and it seems stupid to go to a store to buy a sandwich, materials for a sandwich for the purposes of talking about it on a stream. Uh, but you know, what I'll have to do is buy the materials for the sandwich when I'm at the grocery store anyway. And I take every precaution I can. I try to show up when they open because I want to get there before everyone got their dirty little mitts on everything, excluding the people who work there, but I'm sure the people who work there are conscientious. Most of them. I can think of a few that probably aren't, if I'm being honest. I was only ever made fun of one time for wearing a mask in public, and that was at the the one grocery store I can shop at in town, and it was by an employee. An employee made fun of me to my face. She looked right at me. I was walking out, and she was walking in, and she said, "Huh, might as well be wearing a diaper on your face." Like, are you kidding me? I went back in and I complained. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Pandemic's on. Everyone's wearing masks. Single me out? Get out of here. You're fired. She probably wasn't fired. And maybe she was. I don't know. Kind of hard to tell. I don't. There's a lot of people you see every day. I'm not singling one person out. I don't know. Maybe she did. I don't want someone to get fired, especially at the start of the pandemic. You're gonna want your job. But yeah, just don't make fun of people. You know, you work here. Like, you work here, man. Don't make fun of me. I'm offering custom at your retail establishment. Just leave me alone. And now now the cat is doing her cool stuff about going after all my wires. Excellent. I love that. 75 nautical miles. 71.73 nautical miles. We are over the last big stretch of water, and we're landing on the far side of this last island. Reykjavik. That's the big town, the big city in Iceland that everyone knows about. My MO is to avoid that. I don't want to do the big towns. I don't want to do the big, oh, everyone knows about this place, so we're going to check it out. I'm doing the backside of all these different destinations. Like, literally, when I was flying around Los Angeles, I spend most of my time, I take off from the airport behind the Hollywood sign. I'm literally behind all of these landmarks. I'm not interested in getting front and center with the landmarks everyone knows about. That everyone else has that covered, and like I said, probably in a better way than me. I'm focused in on the stuff that no one else is doing. It's what I want to do. I'm gonna cruise through Iceland, Josh Gates style. We're gonna get down into the trees. We're gonna get down in the valleys, the mountains. We're gonna find Bjork's summer home. We're gonna find the place where they make that one sandwich that I want to try. It's gonna gross me out probably. Hopefully not make me feel ill like the one I ate today did, which tasted good. It tasted good. Can't do fish. I went through a fish phase as a teenager. I grew up, my dad was very much into catching all these fish, going fishing, catching crabs, all this stuff. And we'd always have barbecue with crab. I remember catching the crabs. Like, it was kind of fun in a weird way. You'd take like the chicken drumstick and you'd tie a little string to it and throw it off the dock, and then the idiot crabs would grab onto the chicken, and then you'd pull it up and you'd drop them in the bucket. But now I'm thinking, man, we could have just ate that chicken. We wasted the chicken to get the crabs. We could have just ate the chicken. That would have been better. Uh, you know, I have my autopilot turned off, and I haven't touched the controller in like 5 minutes. I have like, it's just I'm dead. I'm like, it's dead ahead. I don't need to touch anything. It's fine. But yeah, I don't want my screen to turn dark because I haven't touched anything in a while. So move the camera around arbitrarily. But yeah, I went through a fish phase. I don't know what that was about because I can't imagine doing that now. I just have no taste for fish. But my thing was fish sticks and tartar sauce. Now I still am totally into tartar sauce. I would love to go to Long John Silver's and get their chicken planks, they call them. They make their chicken in like the same batter that they make the fish in, so it has a very distinct flavor. And it's really good with the tartar sauce. And then you get the little crispies. So you want to take the chicken, dip it in the tartar sauce, and then roll the tartar sauce chicken around in the crispies. It's amazing. It's really quite something. But yeah, back as a teenager, I went through a fish stick phase, and I also listened to the band Fish, and Wolfman's Brother is really good. Hoist is their best album for sure, by a long shot. In fact, I kind of have this memory coming back of driving to Connecticut and listening to two albums, Hoist by Fish and Mr. Bungle by Mr. Bungle. There was a record store in Vermont that my mom and I stopped at called like Moose Records or something like that. And they had, this is back with cassette tapes. They had these two amazing records on cassette tapes and albums on cassette tape, and just listened to Hoist and Mr. Bungle. And my mom was gracious enough. No, you know what? It wasn't. It wasn't Mr. Bungle by Mr. Bungle. It was California by Mr. Bungle, which, if I'm listening to with my mom, is probably the better choice. It's a bit more palatable, a bit more radio friendly, or as my friend Jay would say, a bit more parent friendly. I got radio chatter in my ear again about climbing. God, it almost feels like we're not even moving. Everything's so big, like a giant island and a giant ocean and a giant sky. And I'm this little tiny plane moving slowly against all of it. But you know what? Autopilot slowed us down a little bit. I just put our engine back up. But yeah, it feels like we're not even moving. Everything's so big. But this is going to be the last landmass before we land. And, if I recall correctly. And as you can see, it's, by the time we get out there, we're going to hit about 50 nautical miles across. And that's pretty good size for an island. I think this is the biggest one, is it? This is the one that has like all the volcano. Like, I mean, there's volcanoes everywhere in Hawaii, but this is the one with like a big volcano. In fact, that's probably it out there past those clouds. That's probably the big volcano, right? Or maybe there's something behind those clouds that I can't see. I have a strawberry chewy bar. It's Quaker Chewy yogurt. I'll dip into that real quick. It's a mid-flight snack. The flight attendant came around and gave me a chewy bar. Strawberry. Granola. "14 grams of whole grains." That seems like a lot.
JMB Aviation 213, contact Honolulu approach on 118.45. Good day.
118.45 for JMB Aviation
Strawberries.
213. Honolulu approach JMB Aviation 213, 3,800 feet.
JMB Aviation 213 Honolulu approach altimeter 30.02, continue as planned.
Pauly Shore came out with a comedy album like 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And he's got a bit on it about having his own airline. And I really don't remember much from it, but one thing I always remember was uh, he made this joke about like not being a very good pilot, and he'd be like coming over the intercom and saying, "Is your pilot speaking? We're cruising at an altitude of 400 feet." And like, honestly, that's kind of what this stream is about. Is like I don't go that low, but I get pretty low. Sometimes I get that low. But I like to see these neighborhoods and check out the houses. Another thing that I remember about that comedy album is there was a bit where he said "what" a bunch, and I used to be pretty savvy with splicing audio tape. I'm talking about tape, like tape, audio tape. And I remember I created a mix where the audio from Pulp Fiction, where he's like, "Say what again? Say what one more time." I replaced the guy in the apartment's voice with Pauly Shore's voice. So Samuel L. Jackson would be like, "Say what one more time," and then you'd hear Pauly Shore go, "What?" I played that again for my friend Jay, and he's like, "Wow, you did a pretty good job on that." I'm like, "Thanks." Also, Jay is who introduced me to Mr. Bungle, so now we've come full circle. All the stories connect. It's like a web. It's like someone's going to listen to my YouTube videos. You know, my stream. I upload these to YouTube. Someone's going to go into YouTube later and like try to parse all this, and they'll have like their crazy person board with the red yarn, and they'll be like, "Well, let's say they said something about Pauly Shore's album and Pulp Fiction," and you connect all the yarn, and hey, maybe there's a puzzle in there. You don't know. Maybe I planned all this out ahead of time. What seems like a spur of the moment conversational whim might actually be my master opus of puzzle design. Or I'm just filling time in a 2-hour flight, and going a little crazy and eating my granola and thinking about Polly Shore while my cats fight. Cut it out, guys. Alright, what do we got here? We got a big road. Wow, big road. That goes a long ways.